ओमज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। जय श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृन्द। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. Okay. So before we begin the 6th chapter, who can tell me what was the name of the 5th chapter?
Karma Yoga, Prabhuji.
No.
Karma Yoga, Krishna Bhavnamrit.
Yes. Karma Yoga in Krishna Bhavnamrit. And what was the name of the 3rd chapter?
Karma Yoga.
Karma Yoga. And what was the name of the 4th chapter?
Divyagyan.
Divyagyan. So there is the Karma Yoga, then there is Divyagyan, and then again there is Karma Yoga in Krishna consciousness. Why? Who can explain me? Why the Karma Yoga is repeating?
Prabhuji, in 5th chapter, Karma Yoga is like karma, but that karma should be dedicated to Krishna. That should be consciousness. Okay. Like you have given example. So whatever you earn your money, so वो मनी है उसको हमें जैसे टेम्पल के लिए उस चीज के लिए यूज करनी है, धर्म के लिए यूज करनी है, तो कर्म हमारे वैसे होने चाहिए जो कृष्णा के लिए हो। जैसे 3 कर्मों का डिवाइड आपने सकार निष्कार ये सब बताया था, तो जो कर्म है उसमें स्पेशली बताया गया अर्जुन को भगवान ने कि उस कर्म को करना है जो मेरे द्वारा है, क्योंकि इसमें जैसे 5.29 में एक्सप्लेन किया हुआ है, भगवान कह रहे हैं उसमें कि भोक्तराम यज्ञ सर्वलोका महेश्वरम, तो सब कुछ मेरा ही है, जो भी कुछ है, जो भी कुछ कर रहे हो सब कुछ मेरे लिए, तो कर्म जो होना चाहिए वो कृष्ण के लिए ही होना चाहिए।
Very good. Yes. Anyone else would like to try? So, in the 2nd chapter, Krishna explains everything about Bhagavad-gītā, the whole content of Gita summarized. Then there are 5 topics of Bhagavad-gītā, and he starts expanding because Arjun says, Bhagavan, khichdi pak gayi. You have mixed everything together and it's very difficult for me to understand. So please expand on each of the 5 items. The 5 items are Jeev, Paramatma, Prakriti, Kal and Karma. So Krishna starts with karma. So he explains the karma yoga to Arjun. And then there are many questions and answers. And then it goes for transcendental knowledge, that is the 4th chapter. And then again, 5th chapter is purposely karma yoga in Krishna consciousness. So anyone else who can differentiate between the 3rd chapter and the 5th, and why was there a need of karma yoga again in Bhagavad Gita? Anyone else would like to try? Short, just 1 minute. No one? I cannot see hands if you're raising because I'm sharing my screen.
So we don't... Can I try?
Yes, Prabhu, please.
Yes, so Prabhuji, first of all, in the 3rd chapter, Krishna speaks about Karma Yoga in the sense that how one should do. Kind of it was a little bit theoretical, maybe not the right word. So in that way, he describes that you need to work for me, and in this way, you will be free from all reactions. And then he also explains that how lust makes one go in the wrong direction. And he said, get up and destroy this lust, like that he says. And then in 4th chapter, he explains about the transcendental knowledge. And at the end, Krishna said that through this transcendental knowledge, you will be able to surpass everything. Hence, Arjuna asked that, what is best? So for that, Krishna practically mentions in 5th chapter how one can act in Karma Yoga in Krishna consciousness, and in that way, by acting for Krishna, he will be free from all reactions. So in that way, he establishes.
Yes, right. Now the point is that Arjun still had doubts after understanding the 3rd chapter, Karma Yoga. Now Krishna explains that you have to do karma for Vishnu, and then you have to perform yajna, you have to offer everything 3.13 to him, and then only you have to take everything. And then the concept of akarma, vikarma and sakarma. The good karma, the karma that is going to give us good reaction is called sakarma. That's going to give us bad reaction is vikarma. And the karma that is not going to yield any reaction neither good or bad, is called akarma or bhakti yoga. Okay? Then the conversation continues and the gear shifts to Divyagyan, transcendental knowledge. Now here Krishna explains to Arjun that Evam Parampara Praptir, that this knowledge I already gave to Vivashwan and then it was broken and I'm re-establishing that knowledge. And then he says that now Arjun has this question that how can you say that you gave it to Sun God? He's so senior to you. He's millions of years senior to both of us, and you and I are practically the same age. Then the gear shifts from karma to Divyagyan. And then Krishna reveals about himself, who he is and why he comes. Yada yada hi dharmasya paritranaya sadhunam janma karma chame divyam. 7, 8, 9, 4th chapter Bhagavad-gītā. And then the importance of a guru. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. 434. And then at the end, now Krishna is telling Arjun to fight. Now the question again comes that you are asking me to do karma. So I will fight in the 3rd chapter. In the 4th chapter, you are telling me to become transcendental. Now, how can I do karma, that is fighting, and at the same time be transcendental? So understand it practically. How can I go to office and mix with everyone who are eating beef, who are drinking alcohol in the parties, and still you are asking me to be transcendental? So you ask me one thing, either I be with them, associate with them, become a non-devotee, or I renounce everything, stay in the temple, go to the Himalayas, and I become a monk. Then Krishna goes for the 5th chapter, that now Arjun, you can do both of these together. And that is called Karma Yoga in Krishna consciousness. And that is what this movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is all about. That whatever you do, you completely do for the sake of Krishna. You go to work, you are working for Krishna. You do kirtan. You are not doing kirtan to please the crowd, that I can sing beautifully, I can play mridanga, kartal, harmonium beautifully. No. You are doing kirtan to please Krishna, to please Panchatattva, and not the audience, right? So whatever you do for me, Arjun. So that is called Karma Yoga in Krishna consciousness, because Arjun had this doubt, whether I should become transcendental or whether I should do karma. So Krishna is saying you do both, you club both of them together, and then you proceed in your life. That means you fight, but not for your sake, you fight for me. So if Arjun would have fought the war before hearing Bhagavad-gītā, he would have fought as a Kshatriya, as a warrior. After hearing Bhagavad-gītā, he fought the war as a Bhakt, as a devotee. So that is why the 5th chapter is again Karma Yoga. Now down the line, he gives us trailer that you need to focus, Arjun. Focus your mind, concentrate your mind. And now Arjun is curious. Oh, how is that possible? So for that, now Krishna is going to explain the 6th chapter, that is Dhyan Yoga. So we will begin 6.1. And before that, my request would be all of you, please memorize Bhagavad-gītā 5.29. Those of you who have, very good. But if you haven't, please memorize the words Bhoktaram Yagyatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suhridam Sarvabhutanam Gyatva Mam Shantim Richati. Because here Krishna declares that he is God. Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. So all the doubts that who is God is clear from that verse. There are many gods, but he is the God of all the gods. Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, of everyone. Okay? So with that, we'll begin the 6th chapter. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Anashrita Karma Phalam Karyam Karma Karotiya Sasanyasi Cha Yogi Cha Na Nirignir Chakriyaha. Translation: the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obligated is in the renounced order of life, and he is the true mystic, not he who lights no fire and performs no duty. Purport by His Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So please raise your hands for the next verse recitation. In this chapter, the Lord explains that the process of the eightfold yoga system is a means to control the mind and the senses. However, this is very difficult for people in general to perform, especially in the age of Kali. Although the eightfold yoga system is recommended in this chapter, the Lord emphasizes that the process of karma yoga or acting in Krishna consciousness is better. Everyone acts in this world to maintain his family and their paraphernalia, but no one is working without some self-interest, some personal gratification, be it concentrated or extended. The criterion of perfection is to act in Krishna consciousness and not with a view to enjoying the fruits of work. To act in Krishna consciousness is the duty of every living entity because all are constitutionally parts and parcels of the Supreme. The parts of the body work for the satisfaction of the whole body. The limbs of the body do not act for self-satisfaction, but for the satisfaction of the complete whole. Similarly, the living entity who acts for satisfaction of the Supreme Whole and not for personal satisfaction is the perfect sannyasi, the perfect yogi. What it means? That if I am feeling hungry and I am feeding the food to my stomach, through stomach, the food goes to the whole body. But if my hand says that I am not going to cooperate, we all are feeling hungry and you are just feeding the stomach. The mouth says, I am hungry and you are feeding the stomach. So I am not going to cooperate. So what's going to happen is that you will always remain hungry, right? Because the right thing should go to the right place at the right time. Then only you will get the desired result. Similarly, all of us, we are trying to satisfy our senses. The senses like our mouth, our hand, our legs. But we have to satisfy Krishna. So it's the same analogy that we are hungry or we want happiness in our life. We all are searching for happiness. That is the reason we are existing, you and I. If we don't want happiness, then there is no point of existing in this material world. Okay? We are looking for happiness and then we are trying to feed the senses for that happiness. If I look at this beautiful human, whether male or female, I will become happy. If I smell this beautiful perfume, I will be happy. If I drive this car, I'll be happy. If I go for running and maintain my body, I will be happy. So we are trying to satisfy our senses. But we are missing that until and unless the stomach gets the food, the whole body will not be satisfied. So similarly, until and unless we don't satisfy Krishna, we may try for eternity, and that is actually what we are doing. But we may never satisfy, or we will never get that satisfaction or happiness. So understand this is very, very simple statement and very subtle, but it takes years and years and decades actually to understand this simple statement that we are searching after happiness. Understand this, all of us. That is the whole purpose of our existence, searching for happiness. And we will never be happy if we feed our senses. We will only be happy if we feed Krishna. Simple. Okay? The sannyasis sometimes artificially think that they have become liberated from all material duties and therefore they cease to perform Agnihotra, Yajna, fire sacrifices, but actually they are self-interested because their goal is to become one with the impersonal Brahman. Such a desire is greater than any material desire, but it is not without self-interest. Similarly, the mystic yogi who practices the yoga system without open eyes, ceasing all material activities, desires some satisfaction for his personal self, but a person acting in Krishna consciousness works for the satisfaction of the whole without self-interest. A Krishna-conscious person has no desire for self-satisfaction. His criterion of success is the satisfaction of Krishna, and thus he is a perfect sannyasi or perfect yogi. Lord Chaitanya, the highest perfectional symbol of renunciation, prays in this way: Na dhanam na janam na sundarim kavitam va jagadish kamaye mama janmani janmanishwari bhavatad bhaktir ahaytuki vai. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor to enjoy beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. What I want only is the causeless mercy of your devotional service in my life, birth after birth. Okay? Another thing. The whole point of distress is these three things: wealth, men or women, and followers. These are the main root cause of all our suffering in this material world. Okay? 6.2, yes. Whoever took their hand first. Yeah.
Yes. Krishna. Yam sannyasam iti prahuriyogam tam vidhi pandava na hyasanyasta sankalpo yogi bhavati kaschana. Translation: what is called renunciation you should know to be the same as yoga, or linking oneself with the Supreme, O son of Pandu, for one can never become a yogi unless he renounces the desire for sense gratification.
Yeah. So the word yoga means to link. Okay, yoga does not mean the gymnastics that we see today. So yoga means to link the soul with the super soul. And the real sannyas is from our mind. When we renounce the idea of self-satisfaction or sense gratification, then we are actually in the renounced order of life. Okay? So, real sannyas yoga or bhakti means that one should know his constitutional position as the living entity and act accordingly. The living entity has no separate independent identity. He is the marginal energy of the Supreme. So by now we must all have understood, right? There are three energies: external, that is Mahamaya or Durga Devi; internal, Subhadra Devi or Bahiranga, Antaranga; and Tatast, that is all of us, the Jeev, that is marginal. So there are three kind of energies. And we are not at all independent. The living entity has no separate independent identity. We are always dependent. Okay? When he is entrapped by material energy, he is conditioned. And when he is Krishna conscious or aware of the spiritual energy, when he is in his real and natural state of life. Therefore, when one is in complete knowledge, one sees all material sense gratification or renounces all kinds of sense gratificatory activities. This is practiced by the yogis who restrain the senses from material attachment, but a person in Krishna consciousness has no opportunity to engage his senses in anything which is not for the purpose of Krishna. Therefore, a Krishna conscious person is simultaneously a sannyasi and a yogi. The purpose of knowledge and of restraining the senses as prescribed in the Gyan and Yoga processes is automatically served in Krishna consciousness. If one is unable to give up the activities of his selfish nature, then Gyan and Yoga are of no avail. The real aim is for the living entity to give up all selfish satisfaction and to be prepared to satisfy the Supreme. A Krishna conscious person has no desire for any kind of self-enjoyment. He is always engaged for the enjoyment of the Supreme. One who has no information of the Supreme must therefore be engaged in self-satisfaction, because no one can stand on the platform of inactivity. All purposes are perfectly served by the practice of Krishna consciousness. So what it means is that our journey is from being selfish to becoming selfless. This is the journey of Krishna consciousness, and this is the journey of a sannyasi. Okay? So yes, sannyasi is a stage physically when someone renounces everything materially, and they take on a saffron cloth and a stick, a staff, Tridandi in Vaishnava community, and then they go about preaching Krishna consciousness to others and making disciples. That is one sannyas. And the second one is that if someone is 24 hours Krishna conscious and they have given up all the tendency of sense gratification, that is also a form of sannyas. So the whole point is that when we are neophytes, we are selfish. Whatever we do for ourselves. Even eating prasadam, if it's our birthday, we will desire, oh, I could eat pizza or I could eat cake or whatever. So it is still a desire, right? And then we offer it to the deities, Krishna, and then we take it. But when we become selfless, we wouldn't even have those desires. We will still eat, but not for us, for the sake of others and for the sake of Krishna. So this is the transformation that is needed, and that makes one sannyasi. Okay? Next 6.3. Any hands?
Yes, Taman Mataji.
आरुरुक्षोर्मुनिर्योगम् कर्म कारणमुच्यते योगारूढस्य तस्वे श्रमः कारणमुच्यते. Translation. For one who is a neophyte in the eightfold yoga system, work is said to be the means, and for one who is already elevated in yoga, cessation of all material activity is said to be the means.
Right. The process of linking oneself with the Supreme is called yoga. It may be compared to a ladder for attaining the topmost spiritual realization. This ladder begins from the lowest material condition of the living entity and rises up to perfect self-realization in pure spiritual life. According to various elevations, different parts of the ladder are known by different names, but all in all, the complete ladder is called yoga and may be divided into three parts, namely Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. The beginning of the ladder is called Yoga Rukshu stage, and the highest rung is called Yoga Rud. So, again, three yoga, that is Gyan, Dhyan, and Bhakti Yoga. Okay, remember that. Concerning the eightfold yoga system, attempts in the beginning to enter into meditation through regulative principles of life and practice of different sitting postures, which are more or less bodily exercises, are considered fruitive material activities. All such activities lead to achieving perfect mental equilibrium to control the senses. When one is accomplished in the practice of meditation, he ceases all disturbing mental activities. A Krishna conscious person, however, is situated from the beginning on the platform of meditation because he always thinks of Krishna, and being constantly engaged in the service of Krishna, he is considered to have ceased all material activity. So, why are we understanding this? Because in order to perform our Krishna conscious activity, we have to bring the mind in equilibrium. Meaning, the mind should not be disturbed. And then only we will be able to perform good sadhana, good seva. So we have to master that art where we can control our mind. And for that, one of the way is the yoga system. Yoga means the breathing exercise controlling. So like we sit while we chant our rounds. So we sit in a place and then we focus. We either look at the deities or close our eyes and then we chant. So that pacifies our mind. And specifically, lately I have experienced this, that the chanting we do in the morning is the best. The chanting done during the Mangal Aarti morning program, that is the best, because as the day progresses, what happens is there is so much of frequency, so much of thoughts going around of all the people. And then it kind of disturbs, not for everyone, those who are pure devotees, it does not affect them. But for the neophyte devotees, for people like me, it kind of disturbs. And then I am not able to do the same level of chanting that I could do in the morning. And as the day progresses, it goes down. And again in the night, when everyone is asleep, then you will again see that your mind will again become more focused, right? So some devotees even chant in night. So recommendation is you chant in the morning, during the Brahma Muhurt. And actually Prabhupada said that, when Prabhupada said that Mangal Aarti and you go back in one lifetime, so what he meant was that you complete your 16 rounds before Mangal Aarti. Okay. Can everyone please mute themselves? I think Jyoti Mataji is not on mute. So, yeah, that is the meaning of going back to Godhead, that you complete your 16 rounds before you begin your Mangal Aarti. Okay. Moving ahead. 6.4. Yes, go ahead.
Jyoti Mataji wanted to recite the next verse.
We can't hear you, Mataji.
Hello, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes, now we can hear you, Mataji.
Yada hi nendriyatheshu na karma swanujate sarvasang kalpa sannyasi yoga rudhastha dochyate. A person is said to be elevated in yoga when, having renounced all material desires, he neither acts for sense gratification nor engages in fruitive activities.
Yeah. So that is Yoga Ruda, okay? Remember the two terms. The one is yoga road, elevated in yoga. Okay. When a person is fully engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, he is pleased in himself, and thus he is no longer engaged in some gratification or in fruitive activities. So this we will achieve slowly. In the beginning, there is so much going on inside the mind. It's like a chaos. It's like a war situation within our mind. In the beginning, when we started to chant, there were so many bad thoughts. There were so many bad desires and so many bad words. The words that we used to hear from our friends or we used to hear on television, all of them keep on ringing inside our head when we began to chant, isn't it? All of us must have experienced that. And then mostly people come and then they ask, and even I had the same question to my counselor that, Prabhu, I am better when I don't chant. But the moment I sit down to chant, all these things, they just enter my mind and I feel so embarrassed. It feels like that it's better not to chant actually. But then Guru Maharaj actually, he also gave the answer to this. He said, don't worry about the mind. Let it think what it has to think. Your job is to keep on chanting. You just hear and listen. So you just speak from your tongue, lips, and you hear from your ear. That's all you need to do. And slowly your mind is going to be tamed. So the mind is going to be pacified. And then after a few years, and you yourself will have experienced this, that after chanting for 6 months, 1 year comes the line. Now those thoughts are no more there and you are easily able to drive them away, even if the thoughts come. So this is that stage that when you sit in a very grave situation silently and you meditate like you chant, then you will find a peace within yourself. So otherwise, one must be engaged in sense gratification since one cannot live without engagement. Without Krishna consciousness, one must be always seeking self-centered or extended selfish activities, but a Krishna conscious person can do everything for the satisfaction of Krishna and thereby be perfectly detached from sense gratification. One who has no self-realization must mechanically try to escape material desires before being elevated to the top rung of the yoga ladder. 6.5. Prabhu.
I can read Prabhu, yes. Udharet atma atmanatmanam natmanam avasadayet atmaiva yatmano bandhur atmaiva ripuratmana. Translation: one must deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well.
Yeah, it's very important, this particular words. This and the next one, Atma Ramas. The word Atma denotes body, mind, and soul, depending upon different circumstances. Understood? So we have discussed this many times, that the Atma is used for body, for mind, and for the soul as well, depending on the circumstance. In the yoga system, the mind and the conditioned soul are especially important. Since the mind is the central point of yoga practice, Atma refers here to the mind. The purpose of the yoga system is to control the mind and to draw it away from attachment to sense objects. It is stressed herein that the mind must be so trained that it can deliver the conditioned soul from the maya of nescience. In material existence, one is subjected to the influence of the mind and the senses. In fact, the pure soul is entangled in the material world because the mind is involved with the false ego, which desires to lord it over material nature. Okay, what does it mean again? That our mind is mostly restless, wandering here and there. And that is the whole purpose we are doing Maha Mantra. Mantra is, in Sanskrit, it is said Mantrai iti mantra. That which controls the mind. Mantrai iti mantra. So we are chanting so that our mind will be controlled. And from a scientific point of view also, so when we chant, so our thumb and the middle finger of our right or left hand, with whatever we use, so both of them presses the mala, the bead, isn't it? So we use the middle and the thumb. And as per science, when these two are pressed, so it impacts our nervous system and it calms our brain. So this sends a signal to the brain to calm down. So that is why it is so scientific that we should do our meditation, our jap on a bead, because it's both spiritual and scientific. Okay. So that is why we do chanting to control our restless mind. Now, why do we have to control our restless mind? Because mind is the cause why we are in any particular situation. If we are suffering today, heartbreak, depression, anxiety, whatever, mind is the only cause. Because of our mind and desires, we are in this situation. If we are today in this material world, it is because of our mind. The mind had desire to lord it over to become Krishna. And that is why it is important to make it. It is very dangerous, extremely dangerous. That is why there is a whole chapter around mind. If we make friends with mind, then we are delivered. If we make it as our enemy, then we are doomed. We are gone. So in material existence, one is subjected to the influence of the mind and the senses. In fact, the pure soul is entangled in the material world because the mind is involved with the false ego, which desires to lord it over material nature. Therefore, the mind should be trained so that it will not be attracted by the glitter of material nature, and in this way, the conditioned soul may be saved. One should not degrade oneself by attraction to sense objects. The more one is attracted by sense objects, the more one becomes entangled in material existence. The best way to disentangle oneself is to always engage the mind in Krishna consciousness. The word he is used for emphasizing this point. That is that one must do this. It is also said, Man eva manusyanam karanam bandha mokshaya bandhaya visa sango muktay nirvishayam mana. For man, mind is the cause of bondage and mind is the cause of liberation. Mind absorbed in sense objects is the cause of bondage and mind detached from the sense objects is the cause of liberation. Amrita in the Upanishad 2. Therefore, the mind which is always engaged in Krishna consciousness is the cause of supreme liberation. So, the pastime of a monk who used to do very good sadhana. But lately, because there were so many people living in his ashram, in the same ashram, and whenever he would sit to meditate, everyone would come and they would ask some question. Prabhuji, I have doubt from this verse. Prabhuji, there is this seva, how to do this? And he used to get so mad, so angry that whenever I sit to meditate, these devotees are coming and disturbing me. So he was very angry at them. So once he decided that I will go to a place where there is no one and then I will meditate peacefully. So he goes to a river and he takes a boat himself and he starts rowing and goes to the middle of the river and says, yes, now this is the place, the best place. I will not be disturbed by anyone. So he sits there and then he starts meditating. In some time, what happens is someone by mistake left their boat and it is going on the river. It is floating on the river and it comes and it hits the boat of this monk. And as it hits the boat, there was some turbulence. And again, he becomes so angry that they can't even leave me alone in the midst of the river. And he starts to curse. And as he looks back behind, he sees that there is no one. There was just a boat that had hit his boat. And then he gets this realization. The realization was that it was not the people, it was not the other devotees who was the cause of his anger, of his distress, but it was his own mind that was causing him all the anger, that was causing him all the pain and distress. And this is our story. Because a situation may come that some devotee says something that does not go well with us, and they criticize us and they make jokes about us or whatever it could be, and we blame that person, that what kind of a devotee are you, what kind of a person are you, and that makes us so unhappy and so angry, and we meditate on it for days and days, and our whole mood goes bad and everything, right? Or it's not, I mean, our neighbors, it could be our spouse, it could be our family members, our job, our boss, whatever it is. And we blame them. But the thing is that even the great saints like Prahlad Maharaj, they were also tormented the same way. But did they react the way we do? They did not, right? We have never seen Prahlad Maharaj getting anxious, depressed, restless, and cursing back to all the demons and taking revenge and saying that you will die, you will burn to hell, you will, all sorts of things, bad things. We never hear in Bhagavatam that he said. Why? Because his mind was completely controlled. These are not just some quotes. This is our life story, and this is something we have to achieve practically. We have to understand that if someone said anything to us, that person is just a medium, and that person is just a part of our prarabdha. We were supposed to get that. If not that person, would have been someone else. Once my counselor told me, he said that, you know what, let's say I was supposed to get married. He's a brahmachari, he's a celibate. He said, let's say I was supposed to get married. And then I got to know that I will get so much of mental trauma and trouble in my married life. So I decide to become a celibate. So don't think that I have dodged that danger. No. I will still get the same problems. I will still get the same pain. It would not be from a wife. It would be from my fellow friends, or it could be from my counselees or whoever it is. But I will get that pain. I will get those problems. Now, the only option I have is how I react. Either I can be angry about it, or I can understand that this is my wrongdoing. This is all my prarabdha, and I have to deal with it. Tam tatikshasva bharata, that you tolerate it. Titikshava karunika, suhrida sarvadehinam, ajatishchatravah shantaha, sadhu sadhav sadhu bhushana. 3:25-21 Bhagavatam. It is said that a sadhu is a person who is extremely tolerant, titikshava karunika, and who has karuna, compassion over others, right? So this titikshava, this tolerance is very important because the mind is going to be disturbed, but we have to tolerate everything because this is what we have asked for, right? Moving ahead. Oh yeah, we did this one. Next, 6.6. If there is no hand, so I will go ahead, okay? Is there a hand?
Yeah, I think Gitanju Prabhu decided, but he removed his hand. Maybe
Okay.
Giriraj Prabhu and Raman Mataji have their hand.
Please go ahead because yeah, it's late, so keep on reading.
Manastasya atmaivatmana atmanastu satrutve vartetatmaiva satruva. Translation: for him who has conquered the mind is the best of friends, but for one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy.
Yeah. So we have already discussed this, that the mind is very, very important to be trained. And the best thing, the most powerful tool to train our mind is consistency. Whatever we do in our life, if we are consistent, could be anything. Consistency is so powerful that if in the Bhishma Parva of Mahabharata, it is mentioned, if not Bhishma Parva, then some other Parva of Mahabharata, it is mentioned that if we do anything consistently for Krishna, anything, any vow we have taken for 12 years without a single day's break, we will attain Siddhi, Vach Siddhi. Even Prabhupada said the same thing. If you consistently attend Mangal Aarti for 12 years without missing, you will attain Vaj Siddhi, meaning that henceforward, whatever you say, it will be coming through the mouth of Mother Saraswati, and that will all be true. So, to control our mind, we have to be consistent. If you have taken a vow, I am going to chant 2 rounds. So make sure you never chant only one. You maintain that too. And we have discussed this many times. To form a habit, you need to do something constantly for 30 days. And this has so much of psychological impact, positive impact as well, because it increases our dependability, our credibility. If we are able to do something for 30 days, for me, I will tell you, it was extremely difficult, extremely difficult, because there are so many things we go through in our life, right? There are so many setbacks. A point in my life was that if Krishna would have taken away the power to breathe constantly, maybe I would have failed in that also. I would have said, okay, fine, I will breathe after 5 minutes. Let me rest. So, there is a time where you are so depressed that you are so lazy, you don't want to do anything. And it's with everyone. But consistency is the key to control your mind. And that is why every day we fill our sadhana card. Why? Because we are training our mind. This is the consistency. A time will come, you will see. A time is going to come after 10 years when you have constantly done your sadhana. One day, even if you don't want to wake up, your mind will say, wake up, time for Mangalarti. And that day will come, trust me. That day will come. Your mind, you will be sick, you will say, oh, I can't chant, but your mind will say, no, you chant. No problem. You are in pain, fine, you chant. This is why it is said that the mind can be the best friend, but now it is our enemy. If we train it properly, it's the same thing that happens in the circus. Like a lion is such a dangerous animal out in the wild. But you see, the lion is working on the instructions of a human being in a circus. The bird is free to fly, but it flies and comes back to the cage. Why? Because it has been trained that way. So same needs to be done with our mind. And you all know practically, and it will come. 100% a day will come when you will be able to say that, yes, now even if I don't want to wake up in the Brahm Muhurt, I automatically wake up. Even if I say that today I am not able to chant 16 rounds, my mind says, no, don't sleep today. Chant your rounds and then only you will sleep today. The mind is going to dictate you. Okay? Okay, Raman Mataji. Yeah, whoever wants to. Yeah.
जितात्मनः प्रशान्तस्य परमात्मा समाहितः शीतोष्णः सुखदुःखेषु तथा मनापन्मान्यौ. Translation: For one who has conquered the mind, the super soul is already reached, for he has attained tranquility. To such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all the same.
Yeah. How do we understand this? If you have $100 billion in your account, okay, and then someone says, can I borrow €5 from you? You wouldn't mind, isn't it? Or if you give something for charity, you give something or something happens, let's say, or someone comes says that please give us Diwali ka chanda. So you wouldn't mind giving anything because you have $100 billion in your account. Similarly, if you have conquered your mind, man mana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskara, give your mind to me. If you have given your mind completely to Krishna, so what happens is that Krishna is going to manifest in your mind and then in your heart. And we have discussed this in the Bhagavatam, first chapter, that this is called Vasudev state. Because Vasudev meditated and then Lord Krishna took birth in his mind and then transferred from his mind to the heart of Mother Devaki and then transferred to the womb of Mother Devaki and took material birth. Janma karma chame divam, right? So, if we give our mind to Krishna, he is going to manifest in our mind. And then, for such a man, happiness, distress, €5, €10 does not matter. Heat and cold, charity or jackpot does not matter. Honor, dishonor, everything is the same because you have attained Krishna. Okay? Moving ahead. 6.8. Any hand? Okay, I am going to read that. Yeah. Okay, then, yeah, okay, let me read now, okay. ज्ञान विज्ञान तृप्तात्मा कुटस्थो विजितेन्द्रियः युक्त इत्युच्यते योगी समलोष्टाश्मकाञ्चनः. A person is said to be established in self-realization and is called a yogi or mystic when he is fully satisfied by virtue of acquired knowledge and realization. Such a person is situated in transcendence and is self-controlled. He sees everything, whether it be pebbles, stones, or gold, as the same. Purport. Book knowledge without realization of the supreme truth is useless. This is stated as follows. No one can understand the transcendental nature of the name, form, quality, and pastime of Sri Krishna through his materially contaminated senses. Only when one becomes spiritually saturated by transcendental service to the Lord are the transcendental name, form, quality, and pastimes of the Lord revealed to him. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-234. Now this is very, very, very important. What does this mean, this particular translation? It is said that name, form, quality, and pastime, these four things, is extremely difficult for a person who is not rendering service. Okay? So if we have to understand the name, form, quality, and pastime of Krishna, we have to serve. Now, we have discussed many times that we cannot serve Krishna directly. We can only serve Krishna via the medium of a guru. So what does this mean? It means that only those who serve their guru, they will be, by the mercy of their guru, able to understand the name, form, quality, and pastimes of Sri Krishna. Okay? This Bhagavad-gītā is the science of Krishna consciousness. No one can become Krishna conscious simply by mundane scholarship. So again, why this statement is coming? Because I also once wrote in the group that just taking the books and reading it independently is not going to make us a devotee. It will make us a scholar maybe, but not a devotee. To become a devotee, you have to surrender to a spiritual master, you have to render service unto their lotus feet, and then through their guidance, you will become a devotee. Understood? So, that is the way to attain knowledge. One must be fortunate enough to associate with a person who is in pure Krishna consciousness. Pure consciousness. A Krishna conscious person has realized knowledge by the grace of Krishna because he is satisfied with pure devotional service. By realized knowledge, one becomes perfect. By transcendental knowledge, one can remain steady in his convictions, but by mere academic knowledge, one can be easily deluded and confused by apparent contradictions. It is the realized soul who is actually self-controlled because he is surrendered to Krishna. He is transcendental because he has nothing to do with mundane scholarship. For him, mundane scholarship and mental speculation, which may be as good as gold to others, are of no greater value than pebbles or stones. So it does not matter if they can quote all the verses of Bhagavatam, if they can quote all the verses of Shastra, Vedas. But if they are not Krishna conscious, it does not matter. They have not understood anything. Whereas a 5-year-old kid, if they are saying that Krishna is supreme, they are far, far, far better than a scholar who knows everything about the Vedas, but they don't believe that Krishna is God. 6.9. Surin mitrani udasina madhyastha dveshtabandhusuho sadhushvapi cha papeshu sambuddhir visheshyate. A person is considered still further advanced when he regards honest well-wishers, affectionate benefactors, the neutral mediators, the envious friends and enemies, the pious and the sinners with all an equal mind. Pandita Samadarshina, because these all things actually don't matter. Our friends, enemies, fame, infamy, all these things does not matter after I die. Does it matter? It doesn't matter actually. So whatever matters is the name that we have taken. throughout our life, the service that we have done. That is what matters, because that is going to take us back to Golok Dham. All the fame, infamy, and all these things, friends and enemies, they will remain behind in this material world. So that is why we have to be unbothered by them. 10th.
I think Abhishek.
Yeah. Okay, please go ahead.
योगी युञ्जीत तात्मानं रहितस्थिता एकाकी यदचित्तात्मा निराशेन परिग्रह. A transcendentalist should always engage his body, mind, and self in relationship with the Supreme. He should live alone in secluded place and should always carefully control his mind. He should be free from desire and feelings of possessiveness.
Krishna is realized in different degrees as Brahman, Paramatma, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead or Bhagavan. Krishna consciousness means concisely to be always engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, but those who are attached to the impersonal Brahman or the localized Supersoul are also partially Krishna conscious, because the impersonal Brahman is the spiritual ray of Krishna and the Supersoul is the all-pervading partial extension of Krishna. But the impersonalist and the mediator are also indirectly Krishna conscious, meditator. A directly Krishna conscious person is the topmost transcendentalist because such a devotee knows what is meant by Brahman and Paramatma. His knowledge of the absolute truth is perfect, whereas the impersonalist and the meditative yogi are imperfectly Krishna conscious. Nevertheless, all of these are instructed herewith to be constantly engaged in their particular pursuit so that they may come to the highest perfection sooner or later. The first business of a transcendentalist is to keep the mind always on Krishna. One should always think of Krishna and not forget him even for a moment. Concentration of the mind on the Supreme is called samadhi or trance. In order to concentrate the mind, one should always remain in seclusion and avoid disturbance by external objects. He should be very careful to accept favorable and reject unfavorable conditions that affect his realization. And in perfect determination, he should not hanker after unnecessary material things that entangle him by feelings of possessiveness. All these perfections and precautions are perfectly executed when one is directly in Krishna consciousness, because direct Krishna consciousness means self-abnegation, wherein there is very little chance for material possessiveness. Srila Rupa Goswami characterizes Krishna consciousness in this way. And then we have the translation: when one is not attached to anything, but at the same time accepts everything in relation to Krishna, one is rightly situated above possessiveness. On the other hand, one who rejects everything without knowledge of its relationship to Krishna and is not as complete in his renunciation, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-255 and 256. Okay? A Krishna conscious person well knows that everything belongs to Krishna and thus he is always free from feelings of personal possession. As such, he has no hankering for anything on his own personal account. He knows how to accept things in favor of Krishna consciousness and how to reject things unfavorable to Krishna consciousness. He is always aloof from material things because he is always transcendental and he is always alone, having nothing to do with person not in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, a person in Krishna consciousness is the perfect yogi. So now again here, one thing is that he should live alone in a secluded place and should always carefully control his mind. So this is for a very high elevated devotee. For the neophytes, the instruction is that always be in association and never be alone. Because if we are alone, it's simple like a tiger or a lioness when she is hunting. So she looks for hours and hours, and then a group of deer comes. And when they are in an association, the lioness does not do anything. But if someone is left behind, so she pounds and then she kills that deer. The same is our situation. Maya Devi, she is looking and waiting. The moment we quit or leave the association, she will pounce and kill us, meaning our spiritual life. So for the neophytes, for us, the instruction is we always be in association. And for the high devotees, for the very highly spiritually elevated devotees, they can go in seclusion. But again, I will tell this in the end of the chapter. It's like some things, some instructions are there, and then at the end there is a disclaimer: don't follow this, isn't it? If there was this. It's funny. There was this movie, and then there was this instruction. Someone was on the flight, not a flight, a private jet, and they could not navigate. And then there was a person who was saying that you see a button, and the person pressed the button, and they said that you were not supposed to do that, right? So similarly here, Krishna is telling this 6th chapter, and at the end he will say, you are not supposed to do this, because this is not for Kali Yuga. All these mysticism and the Ashtanga Yoga, eightfold yogas, this is not for you, Arjun. In the end, he will say, Yogi Nam Api Sarvesham, 6.47, that of all the things that we have explained, Bhakt is the topmost and you have to follow Bhakti. But still, because Bhagavad-gītā is for everyone, so we have to understand from all the angles, and then we have to take the words of Sri Krishna. So let me take these 2 verses and then we are going to stop. Okay? Shuchau deshe pratisthapya sthiramasa namatmana natyuchitam nanichitam tailajina kushchotaram tatra kagram mana kritva yata chittendriya kriya upavishyasane yudhyat adyo gamat ma vishuddhaye. To practice yoga, one should go to a secluded place and should lay kush, grass, on the ground and then cover it with a deer skin and a soft cloth. The feet should be neither too high nor too low and should be situated in a sacred place. The yogi should then sit on it very firmly and practice yoga to purify the heart by controlling his mind, senses and activities and fixing the mind on one point. Purport. Sacred place refers to places of pilgrimage. In India, the yogis, the transcendentalists, or the devotees all leave home and reside in sacred places such as Prayag, Mathura, Vrindavan, Rishikesh, and Haridwar. And in solitude, practice yoga where the sacred river like the Yamuna and the Ganges flow. But often this is not possible, especially for Westerners. The so-called yoga societies in big cities may be successful in earning material benefit, but they are not at all suitable for the actual practice of yoga. One who is not self-controlled and whose mind is not undisturbed cannot practice meditation. Therefore, in the Brihad Narad Puran, it is said that in Kali Yuga, the present Yuga or age, when people in general are short-lived, slow in spiritual realization and always disturbed by various anxieties, the best means of spiritual realization is chanting the holy name of the Lord. Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Nam, eva kevalam kalau nastiva, 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 gatir anyatha. In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is chanting the holy name of the Lord. There is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way. Okay? So, just let's stop here and then we'll take the next verse in the next session. Okay? Let me know if there's any question. So, the hand raised are the questions or... Yes, Raman Mataji, okay, Vedaslovo was the question?
Prabhu, I was thinking that if devotees are alone, they don't have the risk of Vaishnava Aparad, right? So...
No, why do you think? Even when you are alone and when you are thinking bad of someone, isn't that an aparad?
yes.
So it's not, okay, I'll explain this thing. This is something, there is this misconception. People think that there will be aparad, there is so much of politics going on in the temple, so I will just go in a secluded place, I will not visit temple anymore, I will just be on my own and I will do my bhakti. That is not a devotee. The devotee, a true devotee is someone who amidst all that problems, all the politics and all the problems, still fights like a warrior. That is a true devotee, right? Because this is a Maya. If this thing comes in our mind that we will distance ourselves and there will be no Vaishnava Aparad, this is Maya attacking you. Like that tiger who is about to attack the deer. That the moment you become away from your crowd, your association, I am going to pounce and then your bhakti is going to go away. Okay? So, no matter how hard it is, you stick to the group. You go in the association. If it is really affecting you that bad that you are chanting, you are not able to focus and you are depressed, then you speak to someone that what should be done in this situation. Or you find another association, but never be alone in the beginning stages. Okay, Prabhu?
Oh, thanks, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes. Yes, Raman Mataji.
Prabhuji, there is a confusion. 6.1 means I'm just taking a crux of the shlok. So 6.1 you mentioned that if we want the true happiness, then we have to submit everything. Means we have to do a service to Krishna and we will get a real happiness. 6.2 you talk about the yoga link between soul and super soul is the yoga. Third is 6.3 is yoga, dhyan, bhakti and jnana. 4 is yoga root. 5th is atma related you told. And in 6.6 you told about the Vach Siddhi, right? Vach. This is the correct, no? Vach Siddhi.
Yeah, Vach Siddhi. Vacho Mansa Vegam. Vach means our speech.
Okay, our speech. And 6.7 you told about the 100 billions in your account, so like that. But in these all till 6.7 it's about our mind. And suddenly 6.8 comes, so I couldn't correlate how it comes 6.8 in that name, form, quality, and past tense. So we need a guru to understand Krishna.
Yeah. So now again, Bando Mohi Savadhana Mate. We sing every day, right? That our mate, our mind, should be very careful. And we have to understand that what is the translation you did today, right? That the lotus feet of a guru is only the abode for my spiritual progress. And that my mind should be very careful about this fact. Isn't it? So, if you don't control, so understand the progression. Krishna is telling about the mind control, how mind can be your best friend and your worst enemy. Until you control your mind, you won't be able to surrender to a guru. Because you will have this ego that guru is also a person. Why should I surrender to guru? Isn't it? People have this ego. You see, movies like OMG and OMG2, this is what they are trying to say to the world. That why a middleman? Why guru? This is all false. This is all propaganda, isn't it? Why? Because their mind is not controlled. Only who is trying to control the mind, they will surrender to a guru. And when you surrender to a guru, by the mercy of guru, you will be. So our laksh, what is the aim of our life? The aim of our life is to think about these 4 things: name, form, pastime, and quality. Okay? Naam, Roop, Gun, or Naam, Roop, Gun, or Leela. These 4 things. So when you are chanting, these things should go on in your mind. This is the perfection of the mind. And this will only come by serving a guru. And you will be able to serve a guru when your mind is controlled. So understand the progression this way. Is that clear?
Yes, Babaji, thank you so much.
Very well. Yes,
Babaji, 6.1,
okay.
Distress, 3 types of distress you told now. What kind of 3 type of distress? I need to write.
3 type of distress.
6.1 you told. Distress.
Klesh, Adi Bhautik, Adhyatmik, and Adi Daivik. You know that, right? Huh?
English में बोला तो
इंग्लिश में बोलो कि हिंदी में बोलो? I don't understand.
इंग्लिश में बोला आपने, कुछ इंग्लिश में बोला था, वो मैं लिख नहीं पाई, उसके बोलती 3 types of distress.
3 types of distress?
Yes,
no, I don't think. किसी और को समझ आया क्या? See, the 3 kinds of distress.
I think आपने आज क्लास में बोला था कि men, women and or
ना धनम ना जन्म ना सुंदरेम. Distress नहीं है वो. That was that the whole problem revolves around these three things. Paisa, Priya Purush, and Man Apman. Dhanam, Janam, Sundarim. That is what I was. Thank you, Tanuj Prabhu.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank
प्रभु जी
you.
वही थ्रीफोल्ड मिसरीज भी है ना
Threefold miseries are the clays
Similar,
that we
yeah.
get.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yes, Giriraj Prabhu.
Thank you, so Prabhuji. Prabhuji, this as you said that if we chant in the morning, especially before Mangal Aarti, so I was thinking that for how to mold our life, especially not just going to sleep before that's there, but sometimes we might get into a stage or think that okay, I want to chant, so I want to sleep early, and in that case, sometimes even compromise on service also, that becomes under action. So how to balance to do service as well as sadhana and do all this?
So that will only be in the association of devotees. For instance, if you are in an association where no one is following, okay? But I'll tell you something. When I am doing it alone, like sadhana and everything, or here, it's difficult. But if I were to live in Pune temple today, okay? So there the devotees wake up at 2 o'clock and they finish their rounds before Mangal Aarti. By 4:30, 16 rounds are done. No matter how much seva they do, because of that association, it becomes very easy for me. Because when I see such like-minded people and they are so young and so determined to finish their rounds, so it also motivated me to do that. But again, if there is no association, it is very difficult. So it all comes down to the association that you have. And when you intensely desire for that association, then you will definitely get one. And the second thing is, it's like a practical step. So you cannot be fanatic that from tomorrow I'm going to wake up at 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning. So now, for instance, I used to wake up at 10 a.m. Now slowly and slowly from 10 to 6 a.m. Now from 6 to 5 a.m., 5 to 4:30 a.m. And then slowly after I am sure that my whole life now I'm not going to wake up after 4:30 a.m. No matter if I sleep at 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. I will still wake up at 4:30 a.m. Then slowly and slowly I will go to 4 a.m. Then 3:30 and 3 like that. So the aim of all the transcendentalists should be to wake up before 3 or by 3. But I know, and even Guru Maharaj says that for householders, because they have to take care of the family and they have to take care of the job, so there is a relaxation 5 a.m. After 5, a devotee householder should not wake up after 5. A brahmachari should never wake up after 4. And a transcendentalist, of course, they have to wake up latest by 2:30 or 3 a.m. in the temple. And for the outsiders, non-devotees, 6 a.m. as per Shastra. No one should wake up after 6 if you are to be called a human. So I'm speaking it bluntly from the Shastra, but it is said that no human should wake up after 6 a.m. If you are waking up after 6 a.m., you need to reevaluate whether you are a human or not. Because even animals don't wake up after 6 a.m. With the sunrise, they do wake up. So yeah, but for us actually, even my mentor told me wake up at 3, but it is difficult because sometimes our seva in the temple finishes late, and then while we come back home, it is already 12:30 in the night. So then waking up at 3 is extremely difficult. But yeah, there is this desire that not today, but maybe 2 years from now, when I am comfortable that I am waking up at 4 for 2 years, then I will aim at 3:30 and then slowly at 3 a.m. Okay? And it will happen automatically, Prabhu. Like you don't have to force it. Like when you develop a habit, right? Now, even if one day you wake up after 6 a.m., you will feel so guilty that I slept all this time. And then next day you will try to wake up before 6 a.m., right? So that will be a habit, a clock set in your body. So that is going to happen, Prabhu. But yeah, it takes time. It really takes time. Yeah?
Yes, sir.
Very good.
Yes.
Any other question? Okay. So if there's no question, so we'll meet again on Thursday for our Srimad Bhagavatam class. Thanks for joining. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, Babuji. Thank you so much for the
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare